Alrighty.
So tied 1-1 in this best of 3, and spawning to the south of Polar Night, we've got representing Alien Invasion, CPU.
And in the top left of Polar Knight, we have the Red Terran, the Dutchie. He's on Team Mouse Control. He's teetie.
I am so glad, Wyman, that I am not the only person who gets confused with it not being like north and south, rather than top left, lower right. It's the mineral patches. That's what confuses me. Mineral patches over there, it should be top left. I can't deal with them being vertical.
Yeah, I guess. It's something I've learned to accept after a while. You just gotta go with what feels right, you know?
I like it. I'm glad that we don't have to worry about it too much longer. But anyway, this game, what are you expecting to see from these players? What are you hoping to see from them?
Well, it's actually anything goes, I feel. I know a lot of Terrans don't enjoy playing on Polar Knight against Protoss, for the same reasons they perhaps don't like playing against Protoss on the previous 2 maps. It's quite wide open, so the early game is always a bit of a gamble, as you could say. You know, I think a tech play from CPU would be just really strong. He has plenty of options once again with proxies if he so wants to, but we could see in the previous game that his tech and macro play was certainly up to par. So I think CPU is one here who's in, you know, it's his series to lose.
I'd agree with that. And what I am actually quite surprised by is that, considering this is game number 3, that neither player opted to check for proxies.
Oh yeah.
On Polar Knight, it's a short rush distance. There's many places you can hide, gateways and barracks, but both just confident that their opponent not going to go for something that all-in with so much on the line.
Yeah, I agree actually. I didn't even realize how common cheesing is on Polar Knight, and you're right, it is. Because it's just something so easy to pull off. I know a player like Thermal, he would have been more than eager to play on this map because the 11-11 is something you can really pull off reliably. In fact, I had the honor of casting one of his games, which went in both. At the end, both players were at like 3 supply, and he still managed to pull out a win.
It's crazy stuff that can go down in those proxy situations, and we do now see CPU checking, just making sure nothing sneaky is happening. But this is looking very standard. Reaper expand yet again, coming out of TT. Meanwhile, CPU just going through a 1 gate expansion himself.
Yeah, he built the Nexus before Warp Gate and the Mothership Core, which I'm not sure if it's started a bit, part of the standard build. I don't play Protoss, so these are small details that I sometimes miss and sometimes pick up on. The probe actually gets caught here by the Reaper, which is a nice winner for TT, denying that scout. Of course, CPU has no idea what his opponent is doing at this point. Of course, seeing the Reaper means that he's probably doing the exact same build he was in the previous 2 games. But yeah, both players do have the initial read on each other at this point.
To be honest, this is
second barrack.
This is brilliant for TT, knowing what his opponent's doing while CPU blind for the moment. There's obviously not too much you can follow up the Reaper with other than the expansion, but it's still annoying. Ideally, you wouldn't want to miss this sort of early scout, because it's where you can get confident, really plan out your mid game, rather than just boldly going wherever you feel like and hoping that your opponent isn't doing something that flat out counters it.
So the second simulator here finishes up for CPU, and he throws in a Twilight Council immediately. So this will very likely be a blink play, but he still has the option of doing a more safe DT expand, which of course caused quite a lot of damage, as we saw in the previous game, but it wasn't game ending by any means. So the Terran at this point still has map control, and I think around 6 minutes we'll either see a scan from him or he'll be going for a second scouting round.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Templar Archives quickly either. And charge coming down from the Twilight Council. It's definitely a good build if CPU wants to continue with this heavy 2 base play, but is going for the blink. And I'm surprised at this blink, and the reason for that is game 1, Heavy Rain, where arguably it is the best map to do a blink all in on. He didn't win the game there. He won it in the end, but it wasn't because of the blink stalkers. So doing it on Polar Night, which is probably one of the worst maps for doing a blink stalker all in on the season 1 pool, is an unusual choice.
So we have a small marine push here by TT, and he actually moves quite close to the Nexus, picks off 2 probes, and the photon overturf just get deployed. If you can pick off a few more probes, this might actually be a pretty decent trade, and Oh, actually picks off a total of 6 workers. I mean, 5 in this engagement. So not a bad trade here at all.
The trouble with going for that trade though is, as we saw in game number 2, CPU is still leveling the worker count pretty much, even after losing what is 5 workers there. And this just says that CPU is either hitting chrono boosts consistently on his Nexi, which I don't believe he is because he's obviously chrono boosting his Blink, or he's just macroing more efficiently, which was the case in the last game.
Yes. In a vacuum, that trade we just saw was good for the Terran. The fact is though that, okay, he sees the Twilight Council. He doesn't know if there's a DT Shrine though, but he should at this point, I feel, assume that it is...
He sees how many gates there are. The gates give away that it's not a DT Shrine.
Oh, you got the second one as well. Yeah, then it is, of course... Oh, you saw the second set of gates, and it is glaringly obvious. Second bunker being built, but still, teetie needs to decide where to defend, and the Stalkers are right outside, and the warp in about to happen. And this time he is building bunkers in his main, though. He
is building bunkers in his main, and he has to. This was the trouble with that very extended push into the natural base. Sure, he killed some workers, but he lost all of those early Marines, which means that he's got a lot less units to defend here now. Stalkers are going to head up into the main base. The Mothership Core about to grant them vision. 2 bunkers are going there, but nice little fake out. And the Stalkers go back into the natural.
This is so annoying to deal with as the Terran doesn't actually repair the bunker in time, which is a bit of a shame. Pulse the SCPs, moves forward. Stim has finished though, and the first medevac has already finished as well. So I think that teetie will be retreating to his main. But actually the lifted command center is taking quite a lot of damage here.
SCVs are going to come down, repair it up though. But it allows a nice time warp to go through. This is just picking off a couple of infantry units, which isn't that bad, but God. Nice Widowmine hits.
Oh, and he just doesn't get the Mothership Core, 5 HP left on it. Pretty hard situation here for the Terran, but if he can just stabilize and actually killing the Mothership Core is quite good.
That's amazing. Getting that down is huge, and with these Widowmines, some big hits going down, but they splash the Terran infantry as well. CPU being ultra aggressive right now. More SCVs getting pulled. Doesn't quite have enough stuff to end the game out there, but he's dealt some good damage, killing over double the workers that he's lost himself.
He actually killed so much of the Terran army there. Like, the double Widowmine production is quite good for holding, but moving out is actually going to be pretty difficult here for teetie. He's on 3 barracks, 1 with no add-on. And yeah, he's so reliant on SCV at this point in order to actually, fight that. These Widowmines, they don't do all that much for him except, defensive play.
They do take out a Stalker though, every time one detonates, which is always going to be helpful.
So huge hits.
Huge
hits. Still, is it enough?
I don't think it's going to be. The Marines are very low in number. The SCV is getting pulled yet again, but the Stalkers can retreat down, but they're not even going to. Blinking back into the main base, picking off more workers, kiting away. teetie, he's lost a lot of his SCVs. Oh,
he is. And yeah, not mining from the natural here is what's really breaking him up. The income is telling a lot of the story here. Over 1,500 minerals per minute being mined here for the Protoss. Having over the double worker lead is just such a good position. So he's going to be more than content than to just contain his opponent, I would feel. But no, he's actually been really aggressive here.
teetie isn't mining any gas, only just switching SCVs back. And that means that he's only adding in a single additional medevac, which is going to hurt. But I'm really quite worried about CPU moving up into these Widow Mines again. Take some big hits. And these Widow Mines, just a great way to hold against Blinkstalkers.
Yeah, they do hold him, but the problem here for the Terran is, of course, he needs to do more than just hold. And CPU is already taking a third, bolstering his forces, finally taking up the Robo. I feel that's actually quite late. He'd been on just Blinkstalkers in a couple of gates for way too long, not even getting any upgrades.
Well, we're still waiting. We're still...
Yeah, the game isn't over.
No, it's not over yet, and it's thanks to the mules. The mules definitely will buy a lot of time. The incomes are heavily favoring CPU, but this reminds me quite a lot of game number 1, actually, Whiteman, because in that game, teetie was able to hold.
Yeah, and one thing to notice here is that teetie's army, it's not all that bad considering the only thing that the Protoss has is, Blinkstalkers and soon-to-be charged Stellates. Like I mentioned, his Robo is quite delayed, as well as the Fortress and also the Templar Archive. So this move out here could actually do a lot of damage.
It'll be annoying, and the Widow Mines, just their splash, their just solid hits are going to be really frustrating. The Zealot's going to be needing to tank up a lot of that. The Marauder count though, pretty high, the upgrade advantage on TT's side, and he's still got those medevacs. The third Nexus of CPU is a very nice target.
Yeah, it is. One thing to note here is that there is no observer. Oh, okay, it literally just spawned. Point of charge does get popped, but I think TT will be going for a second attempt here, perhaps at the natural.
It's going to be tough either way. The longer this push basically waits to engage, without solid reinforcements coming through due to TT's low economy, it gives CPU time to mount a stronger defense.
Yeah, I feel that the army of CPU is gradually just becoming too big for the Terran to handle, even though the splash of Widow Mines is always so effective and so nice. Oh, we can actually stim and kill his Mothership Core if we wanted to, but yeah, there we go. Only stims the Marine, very smart decision. Kinda, kills off a bit of the Protoss defense, but it's 2.5 base basically, 1.5 base against 3 base, and how is the Terran even gonna win this?
Well, in goes the Zealot to the front. Only a couple. They soak up a good amount of the Widow Mine hits. Better concave for CPU, and TT having to retreat back. Loses a couple of medevacs as well, which is going to really hurt him to sustain stimming. But he's still just got enough infantry. Forces CPU back, picks off the Immortals, and CPU is frantically trying to get reinforcements through.
Oh, so much damage here from those Widow Mines. Of course, it does, the Zealots do come in, and TT is forced to retreat. But it was actually a really good trade for him. Look at the supplies.
It's really close. CPU doesn't have... Okay, he is still mining about double the minerals and gas, so that's quite a big lead. But if there can be more trades like this, TT may have a small chance.
I kind of doubt it because there's only 2 Widow Mines left at this point. TT's trying to make...
The power units of CPU have gone. Only one Archon.
Yeah, and Zealots about to have +1/+1. If you can hold on until those upgrades finish, then the Zealots will be a lot more efficient than they are currently. And TT's probably had enough. He's just going to go for the Nexus.
CPU though doesn't want that to happen. The Widow Mines get some beautiful hits, actually knocking the shields out and a lot of the health of the majority of the Zealots. That Nexus, only HP remaining. Is TT going to be able to take it out and level out the base numbers?
I feel if he just goes for it really quickly, he could try to snipe it, but he has to deal with these Charlots in some way, and lots of nice kiting. Great, actually, that didn't do a whole lot, but still, TT is on the high ground, and he can win this fight if he just micros correctly.
The charge dots moving in. All the Widow Mines have been taken out, but
big storm.
That's where things start hurting. The charge dots now closing up the distance. A few more Archons morphing in, and TT retreating.
Yes, he is retreating. With that, he has failed to take out the third of his opponent and is now in a huge deficit in every way possible. Zealot's actually in the main and the natural of TT doing more economic damage, and I think it maybe lights out for the Terran here.
He's at 27 SCVs compared to 64 probes. 3 bases to 2, and 3 bases to really 1 and a tiny bit mining because his main mined out. This is not looking good for TT, having lost his army and down by 40 supply.
Yeah, not at all. He's also going to be significantly behind on upgrades quite soon as 2-2 is being chrono boosted out by the Protoss. More gates being hit, even taking a 4th, which is almost insult to injury. TT is actually taking a 3rd of his own, which is something he might notice his own main, and is just relocating. But he's in a very, very difficult position, and I like that CPU is just kind of biding his time, trying to get more ahead while he is ahead. Bolster his forces and be able to go for one confident push instead of trying to frantically kill his opponent over and over again.
I think the trouble for TT isn't going to be the minerals, it's the gas. He just has no gas, has been mining it for a long time, and because of this his medevac count is low, his upgrades are low, and he 100% cannot afford to go up into ghosts, and that's what he really needs against the composition that CPU currently has. And CPU running towards that natural base, but he's also got the Zealots ready to attack into the 3rd.
Yeah, it looks like he's pretty, he's in a pretty rough position. I do feel that he's making all the right moves, which he needs to make in order to, to come back into this game. And, getting a bit of tech would be very helpful, but he's currently staying on his Widow Mine, Marine Runner medevac composition, which is effective in its own way, but against the sheer numbers of what the Protoss has, it's gonna be tough.
Storm's gonna be playing out a lot. If there's some good ones, unfortunately TT's army will just evaporate. The harassment with the Zealots is really nice. It's forcing TT to come and defend, and that bunches him up. The Storm's ready and waiting. The High Templar need to be careful not to get in range of those mines, but they're chasing down. Here comes the Storms, as well as some feedbacks on the medevacs.
Oh, that one Storm puts the nail in the coffin, kills pretty much all of the bio that is still left, and GG. Very nice game here by CPU, with of course the blink play, and unfortunately TT did not manage to